Hi everybody, I'm Jennifer Tryon. Thank you for joining me here. We've got some super fun projects today with some unbelievable looking dies. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching this on the replay, leave me a comment that just says replay, and then I know if you're watching live or whether or not you're watching it later on in the day. So let's get logged in here and I'm going to see who's joining us. Hi, Mary Ellen. Good morning to you. Belinda, Stacy Ann. I see Nicole and Sarah. Hi, Sarah Summers. Lisa. Hi, Cindy. So some people are joining in. Thank you so much for watching today. I am going to make, oh, I forgot the one I made all the way over there. Hold on a second. I'm going to run and get it because I want you to see what I've made. I made one earlier to give it a test. I'm coming back. Jumping over the fireplace here. Hello. So I made this summer pillow, and honestly, these are the dies. If you can believe this, you can cut out this gigantic, piece out of fabric with your Gemini using one die, and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's very, very cool, and I love this as summer seat cushions for outside. The Hawaiian dies, they're really sort of like fun and bright and so interesting, very intricate work, but also very, very doable. So let's just jump right in. Okay, let me set that down, give you a little overhead. Take a look. Isn't that so nice? So just to kind of give you an idea of the concept this is the die that I'm talking about. I'll put it under something white so you can see. There's a whole bunch of them. Actually 4. And you might be looking at it going, how does that turn into this? It's all about the folding, you guys. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. Fold it in a way that's going to allow you to open it up, and then it's almost like making, like a snowflake when you were a kid. Like when you would cut up the paper and make the snowflake, that's exactly how this is going to be achieved. So I wanted to give you a little backstory on some of the fabric that I'm using because I've been holding on to this. Look at this, has tons of holes in it. This piece of gigantic fabric, look at the holes, for years because I loved it so much. And I was at this upholstery place one time in Toronto, and they said, oh, is there anything from our scrap bin? Help yourself. And so I was like, yeah, look at this piece. And I loved this piece. However, it had all of these holes in it because whoever they were making an armchair for only wanted to use, so you can see sort of the arm. They only wanted to use certain parts of the fabric. And so I just helped myself to the rest. Look, this was like part of the other arm or something like that. It had all these holes in it because they wanted to use very specific pieces. And I thought, well, this is my lucky day. I don't mind using the rest at all. So yeah, I felt like that was a bit of a win. Okay, so what I want to do is show you how to cut and fold so that you can make the most use out of this die. And I'm going to make a whole pillow. So there will be, yes, some die cutting, but also some other sewing tips and techniques I'll show you along the way. But let's start with the die. I'll make this the front of the pillow. I'm going to make my great pattern fabric the back of the pillow, and I'm going to use pink for my actual die. So these dies are coming up with Sarah next week on HSN. I'm going to show them. You can get them individually or get all of them. I'm going to make a set, which means I'm going to use one die for each pillow. So I've already used that top right-hand corner one, the one that sort of looks like it's got a pineapple coming out. And so I think next I'm going to use, I'm thinking of going for, either the flower here. Well, I'm going to show you guys. What do you think? I'm kind of thinking maybe this one because I'm excited, for this sort of like lily to be in pink, and that's what I'm going to use for this one is pink. And then maybe I'll do this one later out of green because it sort of looks like a big kind of palm leaf. And then I don't know, I'll figure, maybe orange, or I'll figure something out for this one. All right. So you'll see you've got a giant piece here. You've got to fold it up so that this die is going to work. I've got a 12, so these dies measure 6 by 6. So you don't want to go any smaller than 12 by 12. So I actually did, I think 13 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 by 13. And that's just to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. So that's what I'd suggest for you too. And so you're going to fold it up. Just finger press it. Now you can iron it if you want, but I'll warn you, when you undo the die, you're going to have a big wrinkle. So this is how you're going to fold it, but not quite yet. First, I want to, on the back, put some iron-on adhesive, because that's going to allow you to so easily mount this to the front of your pillow. And you can stitch over and outline it if you want afterwards, if you feel confident in your applique skills. But so long as you get it stuck on there first, it's going to be very, very smooth and much, much easier to work with. So I'm just using a little bit of Heat and Bond, cut to about the same size. And all you're going to do here is basically just add it to the back and then bring it to your iron and iron it right on. Take the steam off of your iron. And it doesn't take long. I sometimes like to iron this from the back. I find it actually works better. Melts it a bit faster. And try to avoid getting any wrinkles in. Start in the middle and work your way out if you can. Remember to do that. So how's everyone doing? Do you guys have like the same little taste of spring that we're getting here? This is why I saw these Hawaiian dies and thought I had better get working on my outdoor furniture, because it is going to be here now before I know it, and I'm going to be totally ahead of the game. Every year I say, I got to do something with those cushions. This is the year, and this is where I'm starting with these Hawaiian dies. I love them. And so original. Like, you see like outdoor pillows all over the place, like in stores and stuff like that, and they all kind of look bright and cute. They're probably like $40 each, and I'm using free fabric here, and you can probably get all the dies for that. Anyway, so once you've got this all ironed on, then you're ready to cut. So pillows are one of those things that if you're new to sewing, you can easily achieve without being any kind of expert. So now look at this. I'm just folding this in the same way. It's almost got like a paper-like consistency now. And I'm just folding this the same way I would paper. So all of us card makers and scrapbookers out there, if you're intimidated to work with fabric, you can see it's not much different. And then I'm going to take my die and I'm working with that fold. And if you can, well, let me hold it right up here so you can really see. I'll put it on the white. So these dies have both a cutting edge and a non-cutting edge. So these edges here are not going to cut over that fold. Just this little piece is here at the very center. So that's where I'm going to make sure I line up the very middle of my fold, because this is going to allow me to open it up and make that sort of snowflake kind of technique. I think they should come out with a Christmas set of these too, for like snowflake type dies. That would look so amazing. I'm going to have to talk to someone about that. I think that's a good one. Anyway, let's get this on there. Okay, so this is the part where all of the folds meet, that center part. So that's where I'm going to place that center. And now you can see it's not going to cut here, and it's not going to cut here. So I'm just going to bring these over to my Gemini plates. I actually think maybe I should move my overhead camera over now, and maybe you guys can get a better look. Bear with me. I'm by myself today. Okay. So the Gemini plate sandwich is the same sandwich that you would use for the Build-A-Block, for any mixed media die. So let me just go over it in case, you know, we sometimes forget the plate configurations. All right, bring in the Gemini. It's on. That's good. All right, so the sandwich is this. Your clear plate, so your clear plate, your metal shim, and don't worry if it's nice and used up, mine is too. Then you want to put your fabric, and now here's where you want to really line up the die. The plastic shim, and then your clear top plate. And then you can just run it right through. And remember, you've got 4 layers of fabric, plus you've got that iron-on adhesive. So the Gemini is going to take care of going through all of that heavy lifting. The Gemini is going to do for you, so that's good. Pull it out. Okay, let's see here. So see how the middle stays intact? It just took out that little notch. And now we can sort of weed it out. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Look at how seamless that all comes out. There we go. And now we take the middle part of that little flower. Honestly, save these little bits for something cool after. I like that. Honestly, you could even use the negative space there, but those little look like sea stars or something like that. That looks cool. Okay, let's open it all up. Oh, Mari says, I'm looking so spring-like in the lilac top. I know, I'm craving it. You guys must be craving it too. Joan is in from the Bronx. Hi, Joan. Darlene from Kentucky. Hi, Darlene. All right, I'm just opening this up. Now, because it's got the sticky backing on it, it might be a little bit tough to peel. But don't worry, it's not going to do anything. I mean, look at this. This is so cool. Sorry you guys can see my little screen there that I switched the cameras with. Sally's in from the UK. Everybody tell me where you're joining from. Anybody joining for the first time? I love hearing from the first timers, although I love hearing from the originals too. Let me know where you're joining in from. If you're new to me, I am in Toronto, Canada, and I hope you will like and share this live. Look at this. That way we get to do many, many more of these. Okay, this is gorgeous. Look at how easily I could achieve this. I don't know any other way that you could that quickly, in less than 20 seconds, cut out this kind of detail and be able to make something, you know, so amazing in that amount of time. I mean, that's pretty incredible to me. I love it. Very cool. Now, it's flimsy right now, which is why we want that backing on. I've still got the paper on. I'm just going to get it ready to iron on my front over here. So, you guys are getting a lot of top bun shots today. So you'll see I've ironed this one on. I didn't even have to stitch, but that's what I'm going to do with the next one too. So let's prepare the pillow top, because yes, that was the easiest part, the die cutting, which is, you know, sort of remarkable. And now I'm just going to cut, because I cut all the rest ahead of time, but I wanted, just in case you're joining for the first time and don't totally know how to use your rotary cutter and things like that, I just want to show you how easy it is, if I could find my rotary cutter, to cut this out. Oh, I'm sure I've got another one dangling around somewhere. Here it is. See, when things are put away, I can never find them. You guys find that? Putting things away never did anyone any good. You always lose it then. Okay, get yourself some space. And you're going to want to have a cutting mat, a large ruler, and a rotary cutter. So this is the Threaders one. HSN.com or crafterscompanion.com will have these kits available online. Basically, it comes with a smaller cutting mat, a ruler, and the rotary cutter. And that's so important to getting a straight, see that? A straight cut with fabric. It's not like with scissors where you want to be like cut, 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 cut. That's going to be way too rough. So now I'm just going to measure over 13 because I want to give myself, or maybe even 14, I want to give myself a little bit of room so the edge of the die cut doesn't totally hit the border. So if you're like me, count more than once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. So even though the numbers are there on the mat, I don't know, they don't seem to do me any good. I actually have to physically count. Otherwise, for sure, it will be wrong. And when you're cutting with a rotary cutter, give it some gusto. Like, you're going to want to whoosh. It's not like pizza where you're like, Just one big long strip with conviction. Okay. Using the lines on my mat, I'm putting that straight line that I know I have there and the straight line I know I have here. And then I'm just going to take that selvage right off. The selvage is the edge of the fabric, usually has like printing on it, or, you know, it's just kind of looks different than the rest of the fabric. You don't want to include that. And then I'm going to count over, push this over because I want it to be on the full inch mark, not the half. And I did 14, right? Should I risk it and just do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I know. I'm like a child with math. It's like the kids are now surpassing me now that they're in like grade 3. They're so much more advanced in math than me. It's actually very sad. And my husband looks at me like, come on, Jen. And, you know, if I could do better, I would. I swear. All right, grabbing the die, and this is when it's time to peel off the backing. So why don't I get it set up on my ironing board here? That would help. And now I've got 2 here. I cut that on the fold so that, whoosh, I'm ready for the next one right after. And get this on my ironing pad. And let's peel off the backing. And what I love about being able to die cut this all at once is you're then not trying to fiddle. Everything is perfectly measured. So be sure to iron on your adhesive before you do the die cutting. These dies are mixed media dies, which means you can cut fabric, paper, cardboard, you name it, all sorts of different materials. They're bigger, thicker, deeper than regular dies, and they're amazing for cutting through multiple layers. So we've gone through actually 8 layers of material here because we had 4 layers of fabric. Then, of course, we have the iron-on. Okay. Let's put this on. And now this part does take a little bit of, because it's so flimsy when it comes out now, it's just that quilting cotton with no stabilizer or anything on the back, just the adhesive. Take a minute and really center it. And make sure everything's laying nice and flat, because this is the moment of truth, you guys. This is where we want things to be straight. This is where we want things to look symmetrical and lined up. Because once we iron it on, that's it. And sorry I can't see your questions all the way through today, but go ahead and leave them and I'll go back through the feed afterwards if you have any questions and I'll answer them. Or when I get back over closer to the computer, I'll take a little scroll through too if anyone's dying to ask me something. All right, how's that looking, you guys? I don't want you to have the top of my head. Doesn't this look so beautiful? Okay. All right, my hot iron, make sure it's ready to go here. And I'm, again, no steam on that iron, just a hot, dry iron. I think that actually, I need a little bit less on the bottom here, now that I'm looking right over top of it. I could probably bring my big ruler over. Oh, look what I did. I caught it with my finger. Who knew the placement would take longer than cutting this out, hey? I also love that this is low tech. We don't have to use our iPad. We don't have to use our iPod. It's just like cut it out, 20 seconds. Super amazing design. All right, how's it look? I agree. I'm assuming you guys say good. Give us a heart if you think it looks good. Okay, now I'm gonna just press it, and you don't have to hold the iron on very long. In fact, if you hold it too long, it burns the adhesive right off, and it just kind of disappears into the fabric. So you don't need to hold it very long. That's why it's really important to line it up, because you kind of just have one shot with the iron. You don't need to go over it 10 times. I've done that many times where I thought like the adhesive didn't work or the adhesive didn't stick, but that's because I ironed it for like a minute straight and I just burned it all off. So let my trouble be your wisdom. So now if you have the time and patience, you could also stitch along these. You could use some green and put some like veins in the leaves, or some contrasting like orange would be so nice on some of those flowers. So just a little extra idea. You could even use like embroidery floss. You could use that in your sewing machine to add some chunkier. I just have this bit here that's not, no wonder it's not going down. Look at that. The backing. Hopefully I didn't ruin this. Oh no, still fine. Always something, huh? All right, got it ironed down there. Looks good. I like this. And so imagine it, like this one's the one from earlier, the orange. Maybe we do a green and like a teal or a yellow, and all with the same kind of back, and maybe all with the same piping. I think it's going to look like a really cool custom set. Very, very summertime. All right, let's go back. Wait, let's not go back. Let's get the rest of the fabric. So this is the back. Give that a little iron off too. And what do you guys think? Should it have the green piped trim? Everything looks a little more expensive, let's say, and a little more custom if you add the piping. And I really think that's what store-bought pillows are often missing, is this. And I'm going to, why don't I show you how to do it? Because yes, it would be faster to not do it, but I also think, you guys, it's easy enough that maybe you want to learn how to do it. So piping is the part of the pillow. Let me move the computer over here. So piping is the part of the pillow that like trims it. And that's the part when you see like on any of these like home shows or like HGTV type shows, all of their stuff seems to have like, they get everything custom made. And that way they get to have all this really cool like trim and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you how to do it. And basically I've used the fabric strip dies. So you can go on hsn.com or go on crafterscompanion.com, the new website, and they'll have the fabric strip dies. And I would use the 2.5 inch or the like whichever you're most comfortable with, but about the 2.5 inch. And you're going to get some of this piping just at the fabric store, and it's like, I don't know, a few cents a yard. So like, I think it's like 60 cents here. It's very, very inexpensive, but it makes the most expensive, like detailing it. It drives up the price of the pillow exponentially. And all I'm really gonna do is wrap this folded strip around the piping and then run it through the sewing machine. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna change out my foot here. I'm just gonna use the regular foot. I'm gonna just bring this other camera down so that you can see it a little bit better, you guys. So this might get a little shaky for a minute. Hopefully not too shaky. Hopefully you can still see it okay. Let me just try to turn it around. There we go. So I have my regular foot on here. The zipper foot is sitting here somewhere because that's the one I really want to use. There it is. So the zipper foot will also allow you to get much, much closer to the piping. But for now, I'm just gonna use the regular foot because I don't want the stitching to be right up close because I don't want to see the stitching on the outside of the pillow. So instead, I'm just going to use the regular foot, trap it down there. You don't need to pin this at all. Make sure you get it right in close here. And I'm going to use thread that you can see, even though I would suggest at home use green thread or whatever color thread's going to match, just in case it ends up showing. But for this, for your purposes in TV, I'll hide the seam anyway, but just so that you can see it going through. And then just see how the edge of the presser foot, it just runs up against the side of that piping, making it nice and tight in there. And then that's how you do this. So if you've been intimidated to try this or ever wanted to have throw pillows that have this technique, it's really not that hard. It's just an extra step. And even though I'm live here and, you know, everyone's like, be fast, be fast. I thought, no, I gotta just do it. I want to show you guys how you can really make things. I'm just going to check on the questions here. How's everyone doing? Janet's saying you do everything. Oh, that's for sure. What's the expression? Chief cook and bottle washer? How did I learn all about these cameras? Marge is asking. Well, in my former life, I spent 18 years as a television news reporter. So if you don't know me, maybe just Google and then you'll see. I was a TV correspondent on the national news in Canada for almost 20 years. And I would always travel all over the world with a craft project with me because we were always getting stuck places, hurricanes and all of these tragic events, and sometimes happy, sometimes mostly not. And honestly, crafting was like my therapy on the road. It really made me feel like connected to home. It made me feel closer to my kids because I was always making things for them when I was away and coming home with, instead of like store-bought souvenirs, I'd be like, I made you this while I was away. Anyway, I got pretty skilled over a while. I mean, I'm not an expert, that's for sure. I just got better because I practiced a lot. And I started writing a blog and it kind of took off a little bit, and yeah. Then Sarah found me and asked if I could present for her on TV. And so it was a perfect merge of my TV skills, I guess, and my crafting skills. So now I've got this all set up in my own sewing room, and my paper crafting room is right next door. And I'll be paper crafting. Well, I'm going to still have another live coming up this afternoon, so I hope you'll tune into that one too. At 2 p.m. Eastern. I think I'm going to make I'm going to use the new Sew Homemade collection and the new patchwork dies, which are really, really cute. I'm going to show you them real quick. Do I have them on here? Oh, I don't have them on here yet. They're in the next Live's graphics. Yeah, so if you are new to sewing and want to take a crack at using fabric, this afternoon I'll use fabric and a few sewing techniques, but with paper. I'm going to do it on a card. So tune in at 2 o'clock for that. All right, so I'm coming to the end of my piping here. You can see, I'm just leaving a little bit. Done. Let me get this back set up. So you can see now I've got this sort of encased, and now what I want to do is sew this to my nice piece. And basically what you want to do is you're going to sew it on the right side, rough edges together. And this is where you're going to use the zipper foot, because the zipper foot's going to allow you to get nice and tight right against that piping. So let's start with the other end where it's kind of more clean looking. I wonder if I can get the overhead. One sec. Okay, I'm back. I think that's going to help us out a little bit now. Okay. Okay. So see, I'm going to put rough edges together. And then I'm going to sew with the zipper foot, because that's going to allow me to get right close up to the edge, right along here. So change out the foot, bring it back over. This is my little camera here. So now that I've got the zipper foot on, and you can even use the sewing machines, you'll be able to move your needle over, the needle position button, or dial, whichever kind of machine you have, and move that needle over as far to the left as it will go. And then you can see I'm getting right nice and tight. Bring that right in here. Look how tight it's going to be to that piping. That's going to give me that nice seam. All right, I'll set you over here and sew this up. And I'm just going to go all the way around. And when I get to the corners, I'm going to stop. You'll see what I do at the corner. Now, some people will say you should only use cut piping on the bias. And I think that's probably a pretty good rule. But when you're just beginning, I've made it many times and not cut on the bias. And honestly, I've barely noticed a difference. So if you see tutorials online that say it has to be cut on the bias, do it if you want. It uses a lot more fabric. It's, you know, a little more difficult. So I wouldn't sweat it. All right, and see what I'm doing here? I'm snipping that edge so that it more easily allows me to take this corner. So needle up, pivot, which means presser foot up. I'm leaving the needle in. And now do you see how this is now like giving me that nice smooth edge. Oh, that looks so good with that green with the pink, hey? Oh, I love it when you make something and it like starts to come together. It just gives you like a bit of a flutter. Okay, I just need one more stitch on this side here. And then we'll be a little closer. All right, make that 3 stitches. And then I'm gonna let it take that corner with that little stitch. And just keep going. And if the corners are tough and you have to wheel it by hand a little bit, go ahead. You don't have to always go at like top speed. In fact, like you can be more precise. Some people think, oh, they're only a good sewer if they don't go slow. No, going slow usually makes it much more accurate. All right, I'm just pushing that piping as far over as I can and getting that down. There, we're nice and on track here. So if you're just tuning in, I am making some outdoor cushions with the new Hawaiian dies that are going to be on HSN next week. And Sarah's going to be there. And these dies, like, I'm not joking you, cut out this entire big thing here in just one cut, and it was all in the folding of the fabric. I folded a 13 by 13 piece of fabric, and if you scroll back in the feed, you'll be able to see exactly how I folded it. Basically, it was just in half, and then see how I'm doing that snip again because I'm taking that other corner. I just folded it in half and then in half again. And then the die is engineered in a way that it won't cut the edges. So the fold allows for a sort of snowflake, you know, like the old school snowflakes you made in school out of the piece of like lined paper. And those were basically like Christmas decorations of my childhood, where that was Christmas decorations, not all the like awesome die cutting and crafting that I do now. So this is a bit of a modern, amazing take on that snowflake. And I'm going to actually suggest that they do Christmas dies with these too, because I think that's an awesome throwback to the snowflake. But to be able to make it out of fabric like that, it's awesome. Anyway, so the die cuts out the entire big piece. And what I'm doing here is just adding some piping to the edge of the pillow. Because when you see pillows, you know, you see designers like going into people's houses and coming up with these great like throw cushions and all of this custom stuff. And you're like, why can't I find anything like that? Yeah, exactly, Loretta. Then you could do placemats and you could do like a whole outdoor theme, or these could be your seat cushions on your patio chairs, and each seat could have its own die cut, because it's about the size of a bum right there. I can tell you that. Well, my bum's a little bigger. But yeah, all that to say, definitely match it up. Having the tools like that where you can make many is really awesome. Okay, I just did that little snip again. And I'm going to pivot. Sorry if my hand's blocking here a little bit. Okay, my one little piece of flower is coming up, so I got to touch that with the iron again because I want everything to stay nice and flat. And if you wanted to stitch this down, which you totally could, like applique it, do that obviously before you assemble, even before you do the piping. You would do it before this step. And I would recommend putting a stabilizer on the back so that your fabric is nice and stiff and not as floppy as it would be if it was just quilting cotton. So that's just a little tip in case you're wanting to applique these down and put some stitching on. Okay, one last corner here. So you can see, like, it doesn't take that long to do this. I'm going to make this entire pillow in, like, you know, about an hour. So if you do 4 of them, you work on them for a week. By the weekend, or you could do it all in a weekend, you'll have a whole new set. So now there is a little trick of joining up the piping at the end here that I'm going to tell you about, because the seam needs to come together and you need to kind of not see it. So I'm not going to let myself get too far down here before I stop. Just put a little back stitch in. And now just back this up so you can see even more. So what I'm going to do here is, see how I've got like the 2 pieces kind of coming together now, right? Like right here. So I'm going to snip. I'll just cut off the tail so we can. Now we don't want these to overlap. So what I'm going to do is actually take my seam ripper, which is around here somewhere. Hold on. There it is. This is like my most used tool, the seam ripper. Take the seam ripper and take out that first little bit of stitching, just to expose that piping. And now same with this side. Take out that first little bit of stitching. Okay. And then line those 2 pieces of piping up and make sure they're straight and cut them together. This way you've got piping that completely meets. See what I mean? It completely meets. And now the longer side here, I'm going to take this and fold it in. See how I'm folding it in? The piping over top. And then put this piece of material and piping inside, and then have it close over top. Do you see what I mean? That way we've got no seams, no seam showing. Can you see that? We've got no, and now I'm going to take it back to the sewing machine and sew right across there. And then we'll just have that tiny little line. No one will ever know that that's where the piping met. So go back a little bit over your stitching. We have one of those like outdoor type couches. I think that's where these will live. And honestly, I've been saying for years now I want to redo the whole bottom seats because they're just getting done, and I think this might be the year I do it, you guys. Kimberly's asking how well the adhesive holds up when sitting out in the elements. Well, why don't I let you know in the fall? It does not bad, honestly. I would say after about a year, I mean, if they're really getting roughed up, if it's not, I mean, I probably wouldn't let this get rained on. I might put some kind of like coating over top if I was going to let them get rained on. But otherwise, it stays down pretty good. I'm going to just iron this back on. Oh, now you're getting the big pole. That's what I use for the overhead camera, but I want to iron this back down. You're getting a little look behind the curtain here. Make sure that stays nice and you want to know what? Like, if worse came to worse and it came undone, or it started to come off, you know, you could always cut another one and iron it back on your cushion. Just take out the stuffing and like iron a new one on if it happened to come off. Okay, so now we've got, this doesn't look that good. However, look at this. Let's bring it around. Look at how great it's going to look when it's folded back. So now we just need to add the back. And I'm gonna add a zipper too. So lots of techniques we're learning today. So I'm using the zips on a roll, my favorite invention of all time, because it gives you this big, long, look at this, whole bunch of zippers. You just move them all down and then you choose the length that you want, which is, in my world, constantly changing the length of things, and just being able to like lay it down here and not have to go to the store and say, oh, I need like a 12-inch zipper, or I just, you know, no one has time for that. So I love being able to have these at hand. So I think this teal is just going to be like fun and colorful, and so I'm just going to kind of make a guesstimate. But what I'm going to do here is because this is the zip on a roll, it doesn't have anywhere to kind of, I'm going to put this here so you can see. If I were to unzip this now, the zipper would come right off the end. I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little stitch right in the end here and right in the end here with like a zigzag stitch. And then that's going to allow the zipper to stay put and not ever fly off the end, because that is super annoying. I have done that many times and wasted this valuable zipper. So now I stitch that in immediately. All right, let me show you how to do that, because it's a good one to know. And I'm going to get super in close so you can really see. Hold on a sec. I feel like that's a little blurry, but okay. Forgive me if it's blurry, you guys. It's getting in nice and close. Oh, it's tipping. Come on. Come on, little camera. You can do it. There we go. All right, sorry if it's a smidge blurry. But basically what I'm doing is I'm going to choose zigzag, and then I'm going to choose the largest zigzag, which is pushing my needle. See how it's pushing the needle right over? The largest zigzag with the smallest stitch length. And essentially what that's going to do is just sew in place like this, right over top. See, it's not even moving. And now what I'm left with is this sort of tacking stitch right at the end, so that if I unzip this, it's not going to come off anymore. Now, a zipper that you buy at the store will have one of those little metal things, but we're not buying zippers at the store. We're buying zips on a roll, because we don't have to go back to the store every time we need a zipper. So this is how we're doing it. And do the other end too. I'm just knotting that in place. And again, I have that good little, whoops, it didn't cut. That tacking stitch right there. So I'm going to add this to my front piece here now. Now this is where things start to get a little like finicky and clunky, but don't worry. You're going to be able to muscle through. I'm going to take just a little scrap of fabric, and I'm going to make a zipper end. It's going to help. So these zippers are about 1 inch. Oh, Melissa was wondering how the zippers on a roll work. Yeah, it's just a whole bunch of zippers. It's super convenient. Okay, so this is about 1 inch. I'm just going to cut a little 1 inch strip. Oh, sorry, you guys aren't really seeing that. I'm just cutting this sort of 1 inch strip here. Yes, doing this with the rotary cutter would be way better, but I don't want to move all around. And then I'm just going to cut this in half, and this little piece of fabric is going to go on either end of my zipper. And this is just going to help so that the end of the pillow doesn't meet with the zipper. Instead, the corner of the pillow is going to meet with matching fabric. It's just going to look a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to right sides together. Switch back to the straight stitch here. And just sew. And then back stitch. I'm just going to back stitch all the way over. And now flip this over and top stitch this down. Don't forget to top stitch, you guys. That just means on a lot of places you'll see top stitching and it just keeps everything nice and flat and straight. It's often a step we forget, but now look at how nice that's gonna sit instead of it just being the loose zipper at the corner. Sorry to bang the camera. Trim the little threads here. So I know the die cutting is sort of the wow moment and it happens at the beginning, but in order for you to make some of these things, you have to expand your creativity a little bit. You have to expand your crafting wherewithal, you know, and it might mean investing in a sewing machine, or it might mean, you know, getting into fabric. But trust me, it is very doable. If you're a creative person and you're already a scrapbooker or card maker, sewing is in your wheelhouse. You just need to kind of learn the basics. And I've got lots of videos, Crafter's Companion's got lots of videos, Lizzie's got lots of videos to kind of help you on your sewing journey. All right, so that's tacked down. So now I'm just going to trim all those little threads. Can't believe I'm using these gigantic scissors. Normally I have like a little pair sitting here. And now this is going to be nice and long, more than long enough to go on top of my pillow bottom. Trying to see which way, there we go. So I want to put the very bottom part of the zipper on the very edge of my piping. And again, go in with the zipper foot. So I'm going to switch that back and tack this down. Now, you guys are going to use coordinating thread at home. I'm using just this white so you guys can see it a little bit more easily. It is actually kind of burning my eyes a little bit to see the white, but I'm doing it for you. Here we go. See me putting up the camera? Oh, Bertha's in from Regina. First time watching. Would these dies work with vinyl? Yes, 100% they would work with vinyl. And I hope TSC, the shopping channel in Canada, will bring them here too. That would be amazing. Let's keep our fingers crossed for that. And so I'm getting nice and close up using the zipper foot here right to the edge of the piping. This is what's great about having these extra feet with your sewing machine, is that you can do these extra techniques fairly easily. Now I'm coming to the zipper here, you can see that. So you can pull it back down or pull it up across the presser foot. But don't try to sew where the zipper is or you'll get like a lump. I've done that many times. So you can see I can pull that zipper, lift up the presser foot if you have to, and you can pull that zipper to the other, pull that zipper to the other side of the presser foot, and then it won't be in the way, and then you'll still end up with a nice straight seam. All right, let's look here. Look, guys. It's totally coming together and starting to look like a real pillow. I love that. I mean, what did I really think was going to happen? But nice. All right, so let's go back overhead. So the next step is going to be attaching the back. I think I just came unthreaded here, so I'm going to thread back up. I was saying to a couple girlfriends who were over sewing the other day, if like sewing, I'll admit, is like 50% sewing and 50% troubleshooting. That's how it feels sometimes. But it lessens over time, like when you start to, know what the problem is when it happens. So I think that's what intimidates people often, is that there is so much like, I'm not really sure what to do. And but there's so many tutorials online. I'm totally self-taught. You can be self-taught too. It just came unthreaded this last inch, so I'm just retacking that down. See? Troubleshooting. But, I mean, we started this just around a few minutes after 11, and we're already on basically the last step of making this super cute throw pillow. So we've die cut out. This is the die if you're just tuning in late. It operates like kind of one of those cool snowflakes you used to make as a kid. So it's all in the fold of the fabric. So later on you can scroll back and I'll show you exactly how to fold your fabric. But for now, I'm going to add the backing, and that's just going to go right over top of everything. I'm going to start with the zipper seam first because that's the most finicky, and I want to make sure that comes together. And then the other seams will be a little easier. So I'm just lining everything up. I'll give you a look here. So line up those seams, make sure that everything's nice and square on every side. Hi Sharon, she's in from Irving. And I'm just gonna let you watch the other side of the zipper come together now. So I'm basically doing exactly the same thing. You can pin it if you want to. I tend to shuffle things with my fingers a lot when I'm sewing, so I don't worry too much about the pinning. But it also means sometimes if I'm not totally checking on the back that I can run off the track fairly easily. So you've been warned. Not pinning is definitely faster, but only if you don't make a mistake. So just make sure everything stays nice and lined up and right nice and tight against that zipper. And the zipper foot, look how close the zipper foot lets me get to the actual zipper. You could never do that with your regular foot. You can attach zippers with your regular foot. You just can't get this close. And that's the big difference. And now I know the sewing and watching the sewing is not as sexy as watching the die cutting. That's definitely the wow moment. But like I said earlier, you don't get the whole project to come together unless you do. I'm moving that zipper past the presser foot right now, you guys. You don't get that wow moment at the end where you made something out of the dies unless you're willing to put in a little bit of the elbow grease and sew. All right. Let's see how this looks. All right, now I want to give you a big, big tip here. And now I didn't do it on this side just because it was so close to the piping. But you see how this is sort of, sorry, you got a cord here. See how this seam here is kind of rolling up? And I talked about top stitching. I want you to remember how this looks, this sort of hump, because this often people will skip this step, but you want to run a line of top stitching down here. This is going to make it look a lot more professional. I almost feel like I should screenshot this so I can show you the before after. But just remember how lumpy this looks. And now I'm going to top stitch it, and like we'll see the difference. And top stitch just means sew over top of what you just sewed underneath, basically, but on top this time. So this is going to, where normally you wouldn't see the stitches, these stitches are going to show. So you could make them a little longer, you could change the color to blue or whatever you wanted to match, green, pink. I've just got the white in there, and so for time I'm just going to use the white. And basically I'm top stitching down that hump in the fabric. Helps if the zipper is kind of closed a little bit. Let me just lie this nice and flat. And just make sure your zip isn't in the way. Okay, now look at the difference here, you guys. Look at how, oh my gosh, I just sewed that whole thing and it wasn't threaded. Story of my life. All right, I'm rethreading the machine. Story of my life. Sorry, I'm just sort of off camera there, but I'll give you the big wide shot of the big messy room. All right. These things are going to happen to you at home too, and they happen to me, so it's impossible to sew live and not have some of these things happen to you because it's just like a part of it. So I feel like you guys always get the real authentic experience. You're like, can we have a little less authenticity and a little more speed? So again, just top stitching that down, this time with thread in the needle. I'd really recommend thread in the needle if you want to accomplish a true top stitch. This is where we do eye roll emoji. Okay. So now look at how much flatter this seam now sits with the top stitching. Do you remember before it kind of had like that hump? Now it's going to stay nice and flat. So top stitch, top stitch, top stitch. And okay, back to just making sure everything is lined up. And now I can start going down the edges. Almost done here, guys. Almost done. And the pillow's going to be totally complete. Can I give you a new angle here? I'm trying to give you a new angle. And now use the piping as a guide and keep your zipper foot on and just right up against that piping is going to keep everything nice and snug. Use your fingers as a guide and right along that piping. Veronique, you're not the only one. Yeah, Sharon saying it's happened to her too. It's just a part of sewing, for sure. And so many people get discouraged. They're like, "Oh, I'm not a good sewer because this happens to me." No, it's just sewing for you. This is just how she goes. Oh, Mari's got a very good tip, not to forget to leave the zipper open, because if I don't leave the zipper open and I sew all my seams shut, sorry, it came unthreaded, then I won't be able to turn it right side out. So thank you. There was I would say a good 85% chance I would have forgotten that. And then you're left trying to thumb the zipper from behind open. And yeah, just easier to leave it open. All right, threading the needle. How far back do I need to go? Now, I'll also warn you, when you add a zipper, you add about 1 inch to the overall size of your pillow. So you want to take that into consideration when you're thinking about your the size of your pillow form, or if you're just using stuffing, you don't need to really worry about that at all. But just remember that, because it does add a bit of size to your pillow. Which makes sense. It's about 1 inch wide and you're adding it to the bottom, so everything grows a little bit. Kathy, yes, pull out your machine. Half the battle is just having it out and ready. If you can keep it set up somewhere, you are far more likely to not just use it, but use it to like mend things or do a little repair or all the different things that sewing machines can do, not just craft projects, but like practical type things too. So often we forget, like we could be, fixing the hole in the barbecue cover or whatever. It doesn't have to just be craft projects. But if you've got it out and ready, you're more likely to, sew your blouse shut, which is what I constantly do. The buttons are always like bursting on my blouses. And so having the sewing machine, especially when I used to go to work in the city, I'd always be running down in the morning and right down the front. Oh my gosh, I forgot to open up the zipper. Oh, Mari, I did not take your advice. I totally even still forgot. So if that happens, find the zipper, find the end. Honestly, you guys. Michelle, you're right. These would make for awesome quilt blocks. Imagine like them all pointing towards each other. Okay, I've got the zipper now. It's just a little harder. I'm sorry, Mari. I've really let you down. All right, opening the zipper. Let's do the big reveal here. I'm going to snip off my extra ends now. And you can even snip off the corners. Your pillow will point a little nicer in this, be a little more square without all that extra bulk. So I'm going to trim off even some of those larger seams there. I could do that with a rotary cutter too. Just make sure you don't cut off any piping or anything like that, but a little less bulk is always good on the inside. Sometimes I like to serge the edge of these because if you're opening the pillow with the zipper, like to throw it in the wash or whatever, it just sometimes frays on the inside and then it gets caught in the zipper. So if you have a serger, you can do that. The Gemini lock machine is going to be on HSN, the new Gemini serger. So if you are if you're already a sewer and you've been dreaming about having a serger, now is your chance to get one and not break the bank. All right, here we go. Start to finish, I'd say 1 hour and 10 minutes. Now, we're gonna poke this out a little bit better. We're gonna steam it or iron it so that it's super, super flat and straight. Get all of those corners poked out. What do you think? It's cute. I love it. So I've got stuffing over there in the bag. I'll post some pictures of once I get it stuffed, and it's still kind of yucky outside here right now. So they're not going out until all of them are made and I can decide what to do with the big seats. But hopefully you already follow me on Instagram and Facebook. That way you're always seeing my crafty escapades. Ooh, okay, let me show you the difference. Let me show you why it's important to have those zipper ends, because look at how it just meets nicely at the end there. That way you don't have the zipper going all the way to the end. That wouldn't look as good. So, yeah, save this video on your Facebook if it's the kind of thing that you think you might want to refer to again when you go to do your outside cushions. But until then, I hope you will check out these dies. Sarah's going to have them next week on HSN on the 27th. I think it's at 2 a.m. So stay up late, but it'll be great. Okay, thank you for watching today. Send me any questions you have. If I missed your question along the way, I apologize, but I'm going to go back through the feed now. I think Crafter's Companion is on too, answering questions. And yeah. Thanks, everybody. Bye.